Hey guys, bringing you something a little different here today. So, you see my last video, you know I got some brand new fenders for my 1980 Z28 Camaro. Now this here happens to be an Auto Metal Direct fender. It came from Jags. I got one Auto Metal Direct and one OER. This one, however, came a little banged up. It's got a few dents in it. So, I figured this would be a great opportunity. Mostly this one here is the one I'm most bothered by, but there's a couple. Figured this would be a great opportunity to give you guys a little bodywork tutorial. I do perform bodywork as a professional at a car dealership. This is going to be kind of if you're doing it on a budget, you're doing it in your backyard, as I'm going to be. What you need, what you can get away with doing, what you might not want to do. Anyhow, being that I don't have nearly as much equipment as I would be at a professional shop at my own house, I'm going to be doing this on a budget. So, what you're going to need, you're going to want to prep the fender for the body filler. So I already tried to hammer, it had this edge was like bubbled out and I hammered it in some. I tried to get underneath of it and push it out. Unfortunately, there's like a double layer and there's not really a good way to get under there. It's so small, it's not worth studding. So I'm just going to fill it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some 80 grit, and I'm going to do this all by hand. That way if you guys at home don't have tools, you can do it by hand yourself. So I'm going to prep with 80 grit. That's what I'm going to scuff it up to make the body filler work with. And then I got some U-Pole brand, just generic body filler, lightweight, easy sanding body filler. That's going to be the first step after you get this sanded. You're going to put a little bit of body filler in. Now you're going to let that set up, and we'll sand it, and we'll go from there. Let's go on and get on with the first step. After we're done with this, we'll move on to the next one, and so on and so forth. Alright, I'm back. I just had to grab the rest of my materials, and I don't think I gave you guys good enough material list. So again, we're going to go back through what you need real quick. So you got your part, you got your dent. You're going to need some body filler, some glaze finish filler, and then you're going to need 80 grit sandpaper, 180 grit sandpaper, 320 grit sandpaper, and if you're working on a plastic panel, 400 grit would be good. And then if you're planning on doing base coat afterwards, you might want to do a final sand with 600. But for all intents and purposes, we're just going to be covering like body filler, getting ready for primer. So once you have your sandpaper, your fillers, your spreader, your mud board, and of course the sanding block. This is my favorite sanding block to use. It's a 3M style, and it's kind of a soft block. So here's the number on there. You're going to want your PPE, so your respirator, gloves. I forgot to buy some, so we're all dogging it today. Anyhow, once you get all those things, you can go ahead and start prepping the panel. I'm going to be using cardboard as a mixing board because, again, I didn't buy one. I would not recommend using cardboard. It's one of the things, do as I say, not as I do. I would not use cardboard because what can actually happen is the chemicals inside the filler kind of absorb into the cardboard, do some kind of chemistry stuff, you know, and it can make it not work how you want it to work. So for all intents and purposes, I would not use cardboard. I'm using cardboard because it's my car. I don't really care. I wouldn't do this on a customer car. All right, let's begin. So I'm gonna take my 80 grit here, which actually I think I have a roll of this. I like to use the 80 grit DA paper because you just kind of wrap it around and hold it like that. It's a little easier. Anyway, you're going to rough this area up. I have a little corner right here I got to kind of fix too, so go ahead and rough it up. You always want to go bigger than what the actual dent is because you're going to have to blend the filler out. So don't think of it as filling the dent. Think of it as blending the damaged area with the non-damaged area. Obviously, you don't want to do this if you have a gargantuan dent. Something small like this is fine. You never want to build filler more than like 1/8 of an inch. Extreme cases, 1/4 inch, but that's even way excessive. That's more if you're using like fiberglass. 1/8 of an inch is your go-to. Anything more than 1/8, you risk cracking down the road and just improper use. That's where Bondo and body filler gets this bad name, which I'm sure I'm going to have some negative Nancy's comment on here. You're doing it the wrong way, you're a hack, which I don't really care because, you know, I do it for a living. I don't know if they do it for a living. There's certain ways I do things that you might not do it and somebody else might not do it. Everybody's kind of got their own ways. So that's fine. I'm always open to advice, but at the same time, at the end of the day, I'm probably going to do what I'm going to do. And I've had good results with what I do. So I'm going to sand this inside a little bit too, because I kind of had to hammer in here, and I'm going to blend my filler into here. Normally I'd use a DA for like prepping this area, but again, you guys might not have access to a DA or might not have one off the rip. And if you're doing small repairs like this, it's no problem. Make sure you really get down in there and get that all scuffed. You don't want any shiny paint left over. Once you got it all scuffed up and you got enough bite, bring in a little bit. Then you're going to want to kind of just dust the panel off. Let me grab my air gun here. I'm going to be using compressed air to kind of blow the panel off. If you don't have compressed air, you really should take wax and grease remover. That's what I should be doing anyway, but I'm not. Clean that off. And then we're going to crack open our body filler here. Alright, if you've never used body filler before, it comes with two things. You've got your hardener, and you've got your body filler. So typically there's like a diagram on here. So it says use 2% of your hardener per puddle. Normally I'll do like from the center out, or if it's a big puddle, I'll do like all the way across. I'll show you guys what I mean when I say that here in a minute. As soon as we get this open and mixed. Okay, so body filler is kind of like natural peanut butter if you've ever bought that. The oils kind of separate and go to the top. Now what a lot of guys end up getting in the habit of doing, they just kind of aggressively just start stirring this stuff. You don't really want to do that. You want to kind of just easily mix it in. You don't want to aggressively stir it. Because if you too aggressively stir this stuff, you're going to introduce a lot of air. You kind of churn it a little bit, but just be slow. Don't hammer down on it. You want to try to get as little air pockets in here as possible. Kind of fold the stuff over. Nice and easy. Once you get it mixed up good enough, it's ready to put on your mixing board here. So pretend I have an actual mixing board, 3M or something. You're going to take a little bit, put on there. Let me get some out. Alright, so we got a little bit of filler on the board, not a whole lot. I like to make more than I need, so that way I can do multiple things at once, and also that way, you know, I'd rather have too much than too little. I'm gonna go ahead and prep these other little dents real quick. Okay, so once you get your body filler on your mixing board here, like I said again, pretend this is an actual mixing board, you gotta take your hardener. Blue hardener I personally prefer. The red hardener, if you have like a lighter color, can actually sometimes bleed through. This is kind of what I'm used to using. What I like to do is take the cap just a little bit loose, that way the air can kind of escape, and you just want to knead this back and forth, and that's going to mix it up inside that tube. Once you do that, you can take this, and like I said, I'm going to do for a center out, just a little bead. That's probably enough right there. That might even be too much. You see? So once you get that on there, then you can take your spreader. Our spreader here, I like to use these little ones, and then you're going to scoop all this up, and you're going to kind of do a figure 8 pattern, and then spread this stuff out, press it in. You're pressing all the air out, and you come back, do your figure 8 pattern, press it in. You want to do this until all the blue streaks are out. You don't want any blue streaks because then you're not mixed up all the way and it's going to cure uneven. Like I said, I wouldn't use cardboard. I'm just being a hillbilly. And I would definitely use gloves. This stuff can get messy. Yes, cardboard sucks. All right. All right, so once your stuff's pretty uniform color and it's spread out, you can just scoop a little bit up and stick it on the panel. Stick in there. So I'm going to kind of lay it a couple different directions. Probably going to go front to back. You might need more than one coat to do this, and this is perfectly fine. You don't have to fill in the first coat. You want to kind of feather this stuff out. I'm going to put a little bit on this inside edge to fix where I hammered. Kind of give that body line some more character. It doesn't have to look perfect. So I'm doing this outside, so when you're laying, you want to get it close, but you can always sand it down. So it's your final stages that you really want to worry about it. So we just kind of rough it in. And like I said, we'll block it down. This stuff cures really quick, so if you look, it's only been like a couple minutes since I laid it, and it's already pretty dry. Now what you can kind of do, if you want to see if it's ready, take that 80 grit you had from earlier and run it over the body filler. So if you take your 80 grit here, let's see, and if it starts to like roll, like it gets like starts rolling up kind of, like it's kind of clogging my sandpaper a little bit. I might let it cure for a few more minutes, but if it's got like little rolled up beads or something, like it's starting to like, instead of just sand in the dust and it's actually clumping up, then it's not quite ready. So this one's pretty close to being ready. It's a little tacky still, but it's not too bad. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our 80 grit again. And we're going to block this down. This is where I'm going to put my PPE on. So I'll put my respirator on. You don't want to breathe this stuff in. And what we're going to do is kind of do a, you kind of want to always stand at kind of like a 45. And you'll see me do this a couple ways back and forth. What I'm going to try to do is get these edges to feather in first, and then I'll kind of block the middle. So you'll see me go back and forth trying to feather this in, and then I'll show you what I'm looking for once I get a little further. Okay, so I'm looking for, I'll bring you in a little closer. Do you see how there's like these scratches? They're kind of like fingers going back and forth, and they're kind of interlocking. So that's when your bodywork starts to feather out. You're looking for that feathering because that's telling me that you're not really high and you don't have an edge. Now there's a couple other little things we can indicate here. So there's some like dirt that was on this, and there's this little circle here. That's the dent showing through. So there's a low spot where like some dirt got in there from when I went over it the first time with the sandpaper I'd already used. I had like the E-coat on it already. It kind of laid some of that black dust in there. Now that dent is still showing through, so it tells me there's a little low spot right there, and there's a little bit of metal popping through here. So what that might be is what's called a brow. So what's happening is kind of like if you drop a stone in a river, you get a ripple effect when you get a dent. So if this gets hit, this goes down, but it can kind of send a ripple, and you can send like what's called like a brow all around this, and you can get little high spots. So I'm thinking that's what that is. It's a high spot. So I'm going to block it down some more, and I may have to put a little bit of a coat, another coat on there, which is fine. And I'm going to sand this side. So go ahead and just follow along, and I'll keep you updated. Let me blow this off. So I got the dent mostly filled here. You can still see that low spot right there, and then there's a little bit of a brow around this. So what I'm going to do is grab my body hammer and just lightly tap this down, and I'm going to put another thin coat on top here, block it back out the same way. After that second coat, we should be good to go. And you can feel this too, running my hand across it. What you want to do if you're trying to feel for bodywork is you run your palm across flat and feel for any changes. Sorry about the background noise, the neighbors are having a party. As you run your hand across and feel for any low spots or high spots. Right here I'm feeling a pretty drastic high. So like I said, I'm going to tap this down, blend this out. Alright, so when it comes to tapping down highs, you're going to want something like this peck hammer here. You can get a cheap body set or a set of body hammers on Amazon. You just need something with like a nice point. So I'm just gonna lightly. Run my hand back across until I feel that high go away. Sink it low, that's the opposite of what you want. The good news is we are putting another coat of filler. The only thing I'm feeling now is that low. So we'll do another coat. This goes. Put this edge real quick. If you want to reuse your spreader, you can either take some like acetone and wipe it off when it's still wet, or you can just kind of wait till it dries and just flake everything off. I like to reuse mine. I'm cheap. Okay. Good enough. Okay, I got some more body filler mixed up. I'm gonna go ahead and do another little coat on here. And see where this gets us. We're ready to sand this down again, so we're going to go ahead and start blocking again. Alright, so once you get your bodywork to this point, you got a lot of striations, you don't feel any high spots. Again, we're not trying to build a mountain, we're just trying to level everything out. So it's kind of transparent some spots, nothing crazy. Once you kind of got it to that point, you're ready for your glaze coat. And what we're going to do first is we're going to 180 this, and then I'm going to lay glaze. I like to do that first, get some of those heavier scratches out, and it also give you a more accurate feel. Once you're satisfied with your 80 grit sanding, now we're going to step up to the 180 grit. You're going to block it out just like you did the first time. But this time you're not trying to remove material as much as you are trying to remove sand scratches, 180 grit sand, or 80 grit sand scratches. All right, ready for glaze now, so I'm gonna go ahead and mix that up. Throw some glaze on there. It's gonna be the same process as it is mixing mud. So, your body filler, Bondo, whatever you wanna call it. So we'll go ahead and get that mixed up and lay it on, and then I'll show you the process from there. This is the glaze I'm using, it's U-Pole Fantastic Glaze. So similar brand what I'm using for body filler. I'm gonna make more than what I think I need. I have a couple other dents I'm doing off camera, so I'm gonna go ahead and make quite a bit, but similar process as you would mix body filler. The nice thing with glaze is it takes a lot less than body filler because you're not building with it. All you're doing is trying to blend everything out after you lay your body filler. So that's when it really helps because it's lighter, so you're not really trying to fill anything, you're just kind of leveling everything out. Switch angles here since I'll show you guys the other dents I'm working on. Let me straighten this phone out a little bit. So, sorry again about the background music. Neighbors having some kind of party over there. Anyhow, so we got all of our dents. These are all the dents this fender came with, by the way, brand new. So they're all in glaze now. I'm letting that set up. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna block the stuff out. Same process you would with the mud. You can do 80, 180, and then we're gonna finish this with 320. Before we prime, and then after that, then you're going to spray your 2K primer, would probably be primer surfacer, and you're going to block down your primer surfacer. I'm not going to show all that today. This is just the body filler. So after this step, you can put whatever kind of filler or whatever kind of primer you want on it. After I get this glaze sanded out, that's how I'm going to leave you guys, and that'll be the end of our first Bodywork for Beginners video.